more. This is Brace for Impact. Thank you for popping open this recording because it's impossible for you to be listening to this live yet. But if you get in here and you can join our Twitter group, you can see when we share them as soon as possible and join us for the live calls in the future. I am joined today by the rest of Organizing for Better Tomorrow, sans Terry. She's so popular she had to do another recording tonight, and you know what? We are very happy for her. So she'll be back here on Monday. We are talking about kind of batting around the usual stuff, but we got VRPAC and ACIP. Two of us spoke at VRPAC. I gave a presentation earlier today. Talk a little bit about that. And then we got ACIP public comment. I really cannot push enough. You don't have a lot of time if you're listening to this recording. Public comment closes in like an hour and a half. But if you did want to throw one in for Novavax, pediatric Novavax, it's a good time to do it. There's a lot of confusion about what is happening at this meeting because no one knows. Jesse, does anyone know? Biff, does anyone know? Do we know anything? I feel like we don't know.
Nothing's out. It's 6 days away. 4 business days. We know nothing.
Any idea how we make a public comment about some meeting that they won't tell us what is happening?
Very strange.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I feel like this is like the new norm. I don't think they really know. Like going to VRPAC, even though they had a lot of new people working, it was such a breath of fresh air because it was being done differently, but like still the basics were still there. I was talking about the big thing that I was talking about was our flu vaccines just aren't good enough. They're not good enough for a post-COVID world. And talking about COVID damaging immune systems and how that makes vaccines less effective. So we need more effective vaccines. And also we're getting like this huge something called serial passages happening, where these viruses and bacteria are having more posts in a line without interruption. So they develop new mutations more easily. So consequently, you're going to see new dominant variants for influenza pop up faster than we would have before COVID, which is more than likely going to make our vaccines, that we make them the old way, like that bar isn't good enough. I also talked to them about the standard dose, because I think like the mRNA thing with Moderna recently showed that people don't understand what a standard dose is. Like it was a setting, like they said it like 50 years ago, and it was supposed to be like a baseline response because, so basically, it's like you're thinking they started making influenza vaccines in like 1942. In around 77, they came up with the standard dose. 30 odd years later, and then now 50 years later, we're still using that standard dose. So we really need to be like pumping it up a little bit more and having a higher expectation, which is the point that I was making. And at the same time, the last thing I advocated for, that I think this really matters, is we're trying to get them to meet earlier so that we could do COVID variants so that vaccines could be done before the school year starts. For the last couple of years, as a group, we've been advocating for getting COVID vaccines out before the school year starts because like most transmission starts with the child. And even though these vaccines don't stop transmission, especially the mRNA, they're not really great at that. They do limit transmission and they do limit risk. So it's better, even if we're going to switch to improved vaccine, we shouldn't be looking at COVID as a like seasonal virus. It should really be looked at as like a year-round virus. And that means that school year is like the most important thing to time our protections around. And, some groups are still advocating for like 6 months, asking for like every 6 months people should be able to get COVID vaccine. You get one every 2 months right now. That's the rules we got set up. We as a group, if you're listening to this, believe me, we as a group, we advocated for the 2-month rule a couple of years ago so that people could get Novavax, a new priming series, which if you haven't, you definitely should. We're no affiliation with Novavax. It's just, COVID protection has gotten really dicey and it continues to get dicier. And we're coming into I think also we're looking at we're looking at having like a really bad wave coming because we had like very little COVID during this winter season. And I think that makes people think, oh, COVID's more over, but then we're going to get hit by like a really bad summer wave. Which I, in a weird sort of way, I kind of hope does happen for variant selection purposes, because we have no idea what variant to go with for the next COVID vaccines. Me and Biff have been going through that stuff, and I would say it's more confusing than ever. And we know we have to update. I mean, right, Biff, we haven't seen anything. Nothing's changed in the last couple of days, right? It just seems like everything's kind of chugging along like 10-15% each.
Yeah, that's about right.
Right? Because I don't I normally it's a little like we have some clarity, but I feel like this time it's just like it could be this or it could be that or it could be all of these things, and we know COVID doesn't work well as bivalence as trivalence, which is what ironically Biff was advocating for. You were advocating, maybe you want to explain this a little to the audience. You were explaining to going to back to a quadrivalent for influenza, but using an extra which one is it? The clade K, is that H1? Which one is it again?
It's H3N2.
H3. I wasn't even close. Didn't even have part of
What,
it.
which typically presents as the hardest strain to select for, because we're always seeing these. It's always mutating in different, antigenically speaking, in different directions compared to, influenza B or H1N1. So it's always been the most difficult to select for. So, yeah, there's been this conversation in the past few years about adding a second strain into the vaccines, especially because now they're trivalent, when they used to be quadrivalent. So now there's kind of, so to speak, an open slot that we could, select a second H3N2 strain.
And how cool was it that afterwards they spoke about Biff's comment for about 5 minutes?
Yeah, that really kicked off the discussion. And then there was continued discussion from most of the members throughout the day about that possibility. And like I mentioned on pre-call, it seemed like it was a pretty unanimous understanding among the members that we really do need to improve upon the effectiveness of our current flu vaccines, because they're in the post 2020 world with cumulative COVID infections that we're seeing, and with the difficulty of the strain selection, the vaccines we have just aren't really providing the protection that we need them to on a personal level. Right. So it was good to see most members sort of more in agreement with that standpoint, which we've always held, than I've really ever seen in the past. So that was really good to see.
Well, yeah, we haven't had a push to improve them in like 50 years. I feel like we use multi-dose vaccines now, and those were only improved in like the late 90s. So you're still like, there's just a lot that could be done, and we're not asking them to do it. And I feel like we need investments, and all this stuff takes like time, and you have to sort of like get that that process. They should also probably have like some workshops. Remember when I don't know if you guys remember, we were doing like the protein-based vaccine workshops when we were trying to get Novavax approved. They had all these, when we were giving them all this information, they then started having these extra meetings we were going to where they would go through more data, and that kind of led to everything kind of that we've been saying getting backed up. And so I'm hoping that we're going to see workshops from VRBPAC on improvements, and that's like I feel like it's a great direction to go with vaccines in the sense of what's going on with RFK and co, because like they're getting a certain amount of power, and they've built a majority of people who are unhappy with the state of these things. They're unhappy with how they're going. So not all those people are actually against vaccines. They just don't think they're good enough. So when you say, hey, maybe they're not good enough, we should improve them, you regain those people's trust. And the people who are pushing against the vaccines entirely lose their majority. So those people who are for vaccines but just know there's something not right, they are the people you have to move away from the anti-vaxxers into the pro-vaccine group, and admitting that these vaccines should be improved, and we should be making these steps, and we should be regaining the public's trust. You know, what I say, making vaccines is the best way to increase uptake, making better ones. And so, you take away the power from the anti-vaxxers. And it's kind of like the same thing is true what we came up with, and this is, I'm really proud of this solution, even though it's like bemoaned so many places on the internet lately, but using the shared clinical decision making instead of removing the vaccines entirely, because even though it's not a full recommendation, it's still access to the vaccine. Insurance is still going to cover it. The vast majority of doctors are still going to suggest it. Like, it's not really going to change anything. It just gives the perception that something has changed, which feeds their base. They were going to change something. It's like, what do we say? We say, so the car is crashing. We can either crash into the old lady trying to wait for the bus. We can crash into the pile of kittens, or we can crash into the boxes. And people are like really mad we crashed into the boxes. The car was going to crash. We had to crash into something. And I feel like the shared clinical decision making, which was something we advocated for Novavax, well, we when we advocated for access, they gave us shared clinical decision making as a point, and then when they did that for us, and we used that last year, the year before? I don't know. We've been using it for a while now. Now, when we got that, we suggested, I wrote the thing to Verpac saying, hey, use this instead of the other way, because, that's the good solution, because everything, you get your change, but nothing really changes. It was a good solution. It's not, the car was going to crash. Would I prefer the car not crash? Yes, but that wasn't the options we had.
Yeah, and they got to tell their base that the car did crash. Well, I don't want to continue with that scenario.
Oh, they were like, it rode through the kittens and the old lady.
Yeah, we did a great thing here.
Yeah, they're like, the kittens, kill the kittens. That's kind of the vibe there.
But no, they got to tell their base that their government is no longer recommending the evil vaccines, and that they were happy about that.
That thing about the recommendations,
we still have access.
They don't understand. Recommendation doesn't mean you should get it. It means that the insurance companies have to pay for it.
Right.
Like, the recommendation doesn't mean what the mandates at colleges.
And insurance companies roll over and accept all the new way anyway.
Right, exactly.
So
exactly.
We're good.
Well, that's the thing. If it's on shared clinical decision making, the insurance companies still have to pay for them. So shared clinical decision making, it's just a different type of recommendation where all the same properties are there, except you use different words. It has a lot to say, but I mean, that's we get to keep the vaccines. So it's like one of those, everybody's like, oh, this change, it's going to be harder to get them now. That's not true at all. It is different. I'll give it that. It is different. But it was a good solution, and I feel like we have to think about more good solutions, because the ACIP meeting tomorrow, we have literally no idea what they're... Not tomorrow, sorry. With public comment closing in an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes now, we have no idea what they're going to change or push for. It does seem like there's pushback from Trump about them going after mRNA.
He doesn't need any more political heat.
That's what I'm seeing. I just think Trump actually likes the mRNA vaccines, because I remember that rally he went to when he first started doing rallies again, and he went out and he celebrated the mRNA vaccines, and he got booed by his own people. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, he likes to brag about Operation Warp Speed, but it doesn't. His base isn't really that into it.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, it's probably the single best thing Trump did. Operation Warp Speed has led to all of these advances. This is the type of government investment we need in things like health care. You know what I mean? You need these huge investments to a lot of companies, knowing that a lot of it's not going to pan out. But we're seeing improvements in vaccines across the board because of that spending, because that money came into R&D. All these companies have these new products that are much, much better. So, when we're arguing for, improvements in influenza vaccines, there are several influenza vaccines that are much, much better, that are not the Moderna one on the horizon, that are really, really good. And, we might have a priming influenza vaccines. And it sounds like, talk a lot about vaccines. Don't worry, we got other stuff. But it's just I feel like when you're doing vaccine activism, there's no activism that reaches more people. If you can get, getting Novavax company, keeping that company alive, even not being a stockholder, so that their malaria vaccine can roll out, is going to help 100 million people over 10 years. That's the numbers of people that you help is absolutely staggering. So when anything you can do just to have improvements, you reduce chronic illness, you reduce disease, and most importantly, you improve quality of life. I feel like that's just something we don't talk enough about, is the quality of life here is really, really important, and people kind of lose sight of that, especially when you're talking about the MECFS crowd and all those sort of people. The whole thing is these diseases reduce your quality of life to, or limit, or take away completely. And so trying to understand that, I think is where we have to reach the public. But anyways, that's a little neither here nor there. So we got this vert pack, went really good today. We got another vert pack with COVID vaccines coming up. ACIP is going on. I'll just say this: it was kind of refreshing with vert pack with how Trump is just basically destroying everything, including the world economy. He wanted to leave his mark. Well, it looks like he did it. He was like, they should give him a Nobel Peace Prize now for destroying Western hegemony, right? Like, is that
He's
right? Did I get that,
killing
Jesse?
the American empire.
Yeah. One, like, I mean, I gotta give it to Iran. They destroyed like 10, whatever they're called, the sites with the big dome satellite units, and those things were absolutely no joke expensive, years to build, years to make work, years to think, absolutely critical for air defense systems, and they're just like gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just gone. $1 trillion just gone.
Did he really think this was going to be over in like a couple of days?
I think they thought they were gonna have a Venezuela situation.
Yeah, but this is not Venezuela.
No, this is not Venezuela. Yeah, I think they thought. They also, don't forget we still have those Delta Force or whatever people, the 130 soldiers that tried to paratrooper in, that got caught. Those guys actually did get held, and I feel like that was a big part of they needed those soldiers to get into the country, and they got caught right away. In my understanding, they got caught landing. So
I don't know about that.
well, that's how we did Venezuela. We snuck
For the Venezuela.
we
for Venezuela.
snuck the group in, and they got Maduro out before anyone really knew what was going on. So it was like a very quick air attack, ground soldiers, small invasion force, get the leader out, get him out there, and I think they thought they could do that, but Iran caught everything and then destroyed all of our stuff. And they're like, yeah, we destroyed Iran's navy, and they had 10 boats, and they're still dropping mines in the Strait of Hormuz, which I don't know if people understand how big the ocean is, but we're still finding World War II mines occasionally. So normal that's absolutely wild. Because
And Trump said yesterday that we won the bet. And
it's kind of like how he wins golf, right?
What, cheating?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a great thing about Trump the other day where are dead bodies buried at Trump's resort? Well, we know of at least one. Just oh. Yeah, how
Which one are you referring to?
His wife, his ex-wife that he buried
Yeah,
at his golf course.
He buried his wife, yeah.
I wonder if it's true that they got the tax cut or whatever for being a grave site or whatever. There was some sort of tax loophole that comes with having
Oh, really?
grave sites on your facility. It changes the type of facility it is, and then you can get tax reduction or something.
Like how religious organizations don't have to pay taxes. It's it's somehow connected with some kind of clause like that.
It was a long time ago, and I wasn't planning on talking about it. But yeah,
right.
Yeah, but yeah, that was generally the gist of what I was reading. When I remember reading it, they're "Oh, there's this benefit to doing it." Is is he doing it for this benefit? You're
Can
probably.
you imagine if that's why he did it?
Well, there was also the what's buried with her, how heavy was the casket? That was the one, the Trump files, when he was getting caught, because it was around the same time he was getting caught with the bathroom full of files.
Oh, right.
Yeah, talk about Trump has so many things we have forgotten, the egregious stuff that was happening just a couple years ago, and just totally.
It's so hard to keep track of his malfeasance. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it is. Well, now he's escalated to my thing is are we dropping nukes yet? That's where I am. I'm nervous of the escalation that he's eventually well, just nuke them. I don't think anybody wants that. I don't think he wants that. But at the same time, the guy's so unstable that you're okay, but when do we get there? And it's too late. You wake up in the morning, oh, we hit them with even if they use a Moab.
Yeah.
Even if they use a Moab on a city area, that would be. Things could get so much worse, especially since we're not getting a clear. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh no, Israel, but we're getting kind of images out of Tel Aviv, and it seems like it's just getting absolutely nailed.
Yeah, and they're not purposely like hiding it from us.
Well, we talked about this last time. They sent out the text to all the people in Israel, being like, "No, nothing can protect you. No, leave the country now," sort of thing. It was pretty intense. It's kind of like what the Israelis did to the Palestinians, and be like, move out of, this city or that city because we're going to destroy it, and then they just kill everyone.
They dropped the flyers first.
Right. No, they sent text messages for a while, and then once.
No, I meant in Gaza.
They dropped the flyers. Yeah, no, they'd also text message them and like harass them.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They did truly evil shit. But now it's turning into, we're pivoting into, apparently, there is word coming in that Iran plans to attack California with drones, and I have never seen the public be less convinced of being told something. I've never seen people being like, we absolutely do not believe this is a thing. If we get hit, it's absolutely a false flag to inspire people to be for the war.
Yeah.
I've never seen people just be like, across the board, absolutely not, I don't believe you.
Nobody believes Trump. The majority of people are against this war. So of course, if something like that does happen, it's really like a boy who cried wolf kind of thing. Because we really won't know until if something really did happen. No one's going to believe anything.
Right. Well, I mean, and how much damage? What kind of drone attack? What are we talking here? And I just feel like, why would a country that's concerned with its own backyard go attack the people who are the least against the war?
It's completely not in their interest to do it.
Or capability. How do you get? You would have to launch drones. You couldn't even launch drones from China and have them hit. That's why they use weather balloons. The range, you can't. It's really, really far. It's really, really far. So you'd have to launch them from boats or Mexico or inside of the United States. How do they think that's gonna work? You know what I mean? Just from a. It's scary because I'm here. I'm on the West Coast. You don't want to think about that stuff going wrong. We did have those drones in New Jersey. It was New Jersey, right? Where they had the drones last year. Was the big drones are kind of just bouncing around. No one knew what was up with them. So I don't know. It's
But it would build a narrative around, doing something that people really don't want. Something.
Well, it would only be in the interest of someone like Trump, in the people who want the war and they want to do the stuff. They want more public support for it. It's like you're supposed to sell the war. I kind of I've never thought I'd say this, but I almost miss George W. Bush because he sold us the war. He sold us the invasion of Iraq. I mean, people were it's our duty. There's always the anti-war crowd, but they sold people on it, and now they're trying to trick people into it, and you're just
yeah, they lied through their teeth, but they at least put on a show. Trump is just doing whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, we forgot to do the steps." What was the thing? They're doing what the Nazis did, but they read the Cliff Notes. So they're missing all the important steps. They only see the big events. They only see Hitler throwing the national thing and all the people coming to bow before him. They don't have the 10 years of Nazi rounding up and killing dissidents for that whole time. They see it. It's so weird how because they don't see they look at people like Hitler and they don't see all the bad parts. They don't see the and I don't mean they ignore the racism. They like the racism. That's not the problem. They ignore that this guy was a mass murderer, and in order to achieve the power that he had, you had to mass murder people, and
right.
They don't have it. They don't have it. They'll mass murder. They'll kill people with rockets. They'll kill people with that. But we're talking about I was explaining to my mom the other day because she knows World War II, so I reminded her. She's like, "Oh yeah, that's true." You know, man, I always bring up this point where like if a school had a protest, like if you had a protest for like pro-Palestine in the era of Nazi Germany, they would just take you behind the school and hang you.
Problem solved.
But yeah, problem solved. And that was the level of death. Like we always think about the like killing chambers, but like the amount of people that were just killed on the street for like with no trial, nothing, just oh no, you're against the glorious leader, and that's it, you're dead. And that's how they created that. That's how they did it. It took 10 years. Mm-hmm. And like people don't realize that it's like they don't have it. They will kill people. It's horrible, and I don't want to take away from that at all. But like the scale, like if they wanted to do what Nazi Germany was, all these people in Minnesota would be getting like lined up and shot on the street. That's the difference. That's kind of like why deep down I know, like even though this all sucks, we're gonna stop them and do the thing because they don't have the stomach. They don't have you can't do that. The vehicle for the type of power they want doesn't exist anymore. Not the way. They read, like I said, they are ignoring all the truly terrible parts of things these people did because they're like they don't realize that they have to do that too to achieve that. They just don't have it.
Now these people are just ignoring all the laws we set up after the Nazis to avoid those kind of scenarios.
Why? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Trump. I was gonna say Trump. Remember, we were talking the other night about how Trump was saying that this, it was probably Iran that hit the school, and then he was asked about the tomahawks, and we were saying that the other countries probably. He was saying it could be another country that had the tomahawks. I looked that up afterwards. There are a couple other countries who do buy them.
Two. There are two countries, Canada and the UK.
I saw. The UK, Australia, Japan, and the Netherlands. But none of these countries are anywhere near there. So It's not like there's no way. And
they're only fired from boats or submarines.
Okay.
So they're not fired from like ground, like SAM sites or something. Like they're specifically, you need like a Navy to use them.
But the jury's out on that. We pretty much did it.
Yeah, no, there's no question. They found the parts. They found the bomb. They found the parts. They found the thing. It says "Made in America" on it. We know it's from our people. The site next door was on our list of sites to hit. And I wonder. This is like where we were talking about. Is this AI or human error? Did AI pick the sites, or did AI fire the missiles, or are we using something? And I feel like that's sort of like when we're talking about all that awful stuff with what these guys are trying to embody with the Hitlerisms. I do feel like they kind of hoped AI would come in and like Terminator the problem for them. Like I feel like they think that like if we just got AI up and running properly, AI will do the dirty work that we don't want to do. Take care of rounding up the humans we want. And I feel like the public is starting to figure it out that like people like Sam Altman who are like, I don't have a plan to make money. And then the second the Anthropic deal with the government falls out, he's like, oh my God, please let me get in there. I'll do whatever you want. Because it seems like the plan to make money is to create all this infrastructure to monitor human beings and then sell it to the government to monitor human beings. And I think
keep pumping up the bubble along the way.
Right. And I think the human beings are sort of getting wise to it because like they're talking about this one town is having meetings. They met for like 7 or 8 hours yesterday, and there's like something 14 data sites being built in this thing they're trying to build, and everyone's like totally against it, and they're trying to slam it through anyways. And it's just like there's all this money, but there's no like longevity, and it just uses up a ton of resources. And I kind of wonder if it's also partially like part of the water wars that we've all been talking about, like for the last 10 years or so, like water being the next, oil or whatever, because everyone needs so much water to survive every day. So like I feel like it's like is this just an attempt to like use up resources in specific places? Like it feels like there's like a subplot here that's going missed. And this point you're like, Dawn, that sounds a little conspiratory. Like I think this is a good time to discuss like what they could be up to and what is their real interest, because it sure as hell is not turning a profit. And if their interest isn't in turning a profit in a world that exists purely to turn a profit, then the profit is happening somewhere else. Kind of like social media, where they're like, "Oh, it's free." No, you're the product. Social media isn't free. They're collecting your data. Your data is the product. They sell your data. That's the product.
If we're headed towards a world of like diminishing resources, like, do we really want to use that for? Do human beings really want to use that for AI?
Oh man, it just seems like we could do it a lot more efficiently. You know what I mean? Like if we're gonna have AI and like use it for stuff, it should work, right? Number one, and B, it should work more effectively using less resources, because I feel like it just uses so many resources. And people talk about how it's not even the best way to like cool these units. Like the way they're doing it doesn't make any sense. Like they're doing it in like an intentionally wasteful way. So I mean that doesn't surprise me like at all.
We're just letting capitalism drive the car, and we should be regulating the hell out of this so it doesn't get to the point where it's like stealing our last cup of water right out of our mouths.
Yeah, I mean it's anything for the stock market, because the stock market turns the revenue, and they don't really give a shit about like. That's why we talk about vaccines, and like a lot of the media that comes out is not really about getting you better vaccines. It's really about how to make more money with vaccines. And so, like, that's what people don't understand. Like, all this push on selling mRNA so hard, and the reason there are so many, like, bot accounts now who just, like, pushes, because it's a huge industry to replace our previous vaccines with new vaccines, and those companies' stock gets to explode. And so then the CEOs will then sell their stock, and then they'll become millionaires, and that's how people become millionaires. They lie to you, or at least, like, lie isn't really always the right word. They repackage it in a marketable way to gain your trust in places where you should not be giving them your trust. That's probably the best way to put it. They're really like, they're marketing all this stuff. Like, people don't understand it. Guys, that's marketing. You're like, Don, not everything is marketing. And you're like, literally everything except people like us is marketing. Because we're, have to appear like marketing in order to be competitive with actual marketing. Which I guess, maybe I missed the compliment, Jesse. Maybe I missed the compliment. All these people being like, you're just trying to market Novavax. You're just trying to, like, well, yes, I mean, technically I want people to have better COVID protections and I want to have improved vaccines. But then they're like, but you're just doing it because, you have stocks in the company. And you're like, first off, if I was interested in growing my stock portfolio, not where I would be angled at the moment. I don't have a stock portfolio, so that's definitely, I don't even know. But at the same time, you're looking at like what happened to people just like wanting things to be better?
Mm-hmm.
Like what
propaganda
happened?
and marketing is okay. It depends on what's motivating the propaganda and marketing.
Right. Yeah. It's
interesting. It can be done for something good.
Well, it's just fascinating how like people are like, everything exists for profit and should exist for profit, and then I'm like, no, we should do this for the greater good. And people are like, no, Don is just doing this for profit. And like, theoretically, if that were true, let's just theoretically play with me. That sounded weird. Sounded really weird. Point I'm trying to make is that if I were only doing it for money, that should be fine because everyone else is only doing things for money. But somehow that's a problem when I do it, even though I'm not doing it. I'm doing it trying to make things better. But the fake way I'm doing it, that's the same way as everyone else is doing it, is a problem when I do it. But not a problem when everyone else does it.
Lifting more people up helps everybody in the long run.
You would think. I found actually lifting people up usually just hurts me a lot. Usually my experience is when I go out of my way to help somebody or lift them up.
You're talking about on a micro level. I mean like a macro level.
Yeah, every time I've ever gone out of my way to help somebody outside of their current group, our current group's been really great, I have always it's always come back to bite me. Always. Those same people that I've lifted up, who may not have known that I was there lifting them up, have turned around or knew that I lifted them up and like didn't want people to know, I had turned around and been like exceedingly rude and mean and just like let's just say progressivism doesn't have a platform plank for reciprocating lifting each other up. There's no
you got burnt.
Yeah, exactly. There's no like, oh, but I helped you, and they're like, yeah, go fuck yourself, and I'm like, well, I thought we were progressives, and they're like, no, we want people to get health care. I don't want to like do right by people. And you're like,
Yeah.
but getting health care is doing right by people. They're like, no, if I get everyone health care, if that's doing right by me, because then I get to be the person that got everyone health care. And you're like, that's psychotic and narcissism. And that's what we're dealing with, isn't it? You're like, oh yeah, it's just it's an interesting even from like the best people you would think would not be like that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, interpersonally, this little things can get weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, if something happened, wonderful on the macro level, it would lift everyone up.
Yeah, you still do it though. I mean, like, yeah, I've had bad experiences. It doesn't stop me from trying to help people, which I don't know. I must be a glutton for punishment, but that must be as I'm saying this, I'm like, God, that sounds stupid. I sound dumb. But yeah, I know you keep doing it, and then occasionally you get these hits, and then everyone denies you were involved with with it after the fact. They're like, why are you always saying you did these things? You're like, well, how else is anyone going to know that I did those things? They're like, oh, you're a narcissist. You're like, well, did you do a job? Do you like tell people you did the job? People are weird. People are weird. Love them though. Hate them and love them. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Speaking of hating and loving them, this is a weird pivot, but we got the public turning on AI, which I think is really good. But we have, on a long COVID note, we have the NIH talking about long COVID. And there was a possibility, supposedly the ACIP meeting, I thought the ACIP meeting was going to be about long COVID and vaccine injury. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be about. I didn't think there was going to be enough for them to start, like, banning mRNA vaccines after they've approved them so many times. But it might have started that conversation. But I do think that basically I've heard two stories. I've heard that Trump wants them to not talk about mRNA vaccines or go after them because he sees them as a win, but he doesn't want people to know that. And then the other one is I see people on their side saying they want all long COVID labeled as vaccine injury. Now,
Because a lot of people think that.
yeah, a lot of people think that. No, I don't think that is something that they would do because they've already put out so much information separating the two, right?
Yeah.
But on one hand, I don't expect the NIH to have like really great commentary on long COVID. I assume they're going to like minimize it, talk about it in the past tense, talk about its limited scope, try to shut it down, fewer things. They're going to be all kinds of negative about it. But, and I said this on the last show, if we can get them to just say definitively that long COVID and vaccine injury are different things one more time. Now, they already published documents on this from the government on the matter. But if we can get them to say that one more time and really lock it in that this is a fact and people need to deal with it, I still think that would be huge. Because we have tons and tons of people who still think it's the vaccine. They still think it's all stuff. And I think it's a legitimate argument that the vaccine didn't protect people enough. That's the whole problem. That's why we got Novavax approved. So it's weird when I say, like, the mRNAs didn't protect people enough. People are like, oh, well, you're just an anti-vaxxer. You're like, well, we got another better vaccine approved so that you can have better protection. I think it just leaves people so confused. Like, I don't understand. What do you mean? Why didn't anyone tell me? Like, because it's not about you getting protection. It's about you using a product. And people don't understand that. And they're like, well, we got you a better product. They're like, well, everyone says it's the same. You're like, well, the same people are lying about the other product, so why wouldn't they just keep lying about everything else? Like, why? Like, it's like when you catch someone lying about something, it seems like you shouldn't then trust them about other things. Maybe I'm being a little out there on that one, but trust is a thing.
Yeah. But it would be good if we could get the right-wingers to actually say, COVID is dangerous. The virus is dangerous.
Long COVID is real. It is
Long
not
COVID
the
is
same
real,
as
yeah.
vaccine injury. Yeah, that'd be
You know,
huge. And it seems
Real-
like, oh, well, that's so much further back than where we were. And you're like, yeah, but it's a different group saying it. You know what I mean? It's like before you had like the top of the response with the Democrats giving you the most they were willing to give, which was still garbage. And then you have the bottom, which is Republicans. Sorry, I'm a child. So you have the top
and bottom.
yeah, you have the bottoms of the barrel. No, actually, someone said to Lindsey Graham, this is something I said in the middle of walking.
Oh, nice pivot there.
Yeah, he goes. Why don't you just come out as gay so people will stop blackmailing you? Oh man, just right to his face, and like he's getting a real question. Anyways, nothing wrong with that. Perfectly fine if that's do your thing. Just don't lie
But Lindsey
about
Graham
it
is terrible.
and try to oppress people. Be
Right.
fine. They're the bottom of the what they're going to give us. So you can say like them saying anything above all long COVID is vaccine injury is huge. You know what I mean? Just getting that little bit out of these guys would be like, wow. And be like, oh, that's really slow progress. But it's progress. And it is sort of incremental progress, which I hate incremental progress. But as a concept, you got to remember, incremental progress is not necessarily a bad word. It's become one. It's about the amount of time increments are in. Like, we've been pushing for to get vaccines released earlier for COVID vaccines, right? That's been very incremental, but we have actually slowly moved it up. This year was a little later, or last year it was, but then this year we're asking to push back for where we were going. So we're getting back on our progress. So it's sort of like, yeah, it sucks it's taking so long. It's just like pediatric Novavax. It sucks it's taking so long, but it is moving. We just need to move faster. So that's, so if you're hearing this, go make a public comment to ACIP, by the way, and ask for pediatric Novavax. Can't hurt.
Yeah. Even though we don't know if it's good to make the public comment, even though we don't even know if the meeting might not even happen. Like last meeting was, completely postponed because of that court case, we think. So it could be another case of that, or maybe they have the meeting and they just tell us something at the last minute, or don't just have the meeting and tell us something at the meeting. We don't really know right now.
I think they keep chickening out. I think they're just like chickening out. They're like, they want to do all this stuff and they want to blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, they don't really have the gumption for it. It's just like I was saying, that other awful stuff. This is even like a lesser, like, they want to do this thing, but they know the amount of heat they're going to get for it is going to be out of control. And it will be, it will be. Like, even the change, like, to the, like, I'll give you a good example. The Hep B thing, the Hep B for kids vaccine. I know everyone in my group just groaned because, like, please don't, Don. But no, but they didn't really change anything. They made it so that if you have a negative test, you could not get the Hep B vaccine, but you could already not get the Hep B vaccine. So the idea is it's a prophylactic where if the mother has Hep B, they can pass it to the child during birth. So you really need to give it to a child that's exposed to Hep B within the first 24 hours. And it's like, back when they did the data points, it was like somewhere between 5 and 20. There was a big gap because it depends on the year they're checking, but at the end it was like 5,000 births a year where Hep B was this problem. And you could just say no. You could just be like, no, I don't want to get the vaccine. My kid doesn't need it when they're born. I don't have Hep B. And we'll get it, 6 months like other vaccines. That's what I did with both my kids. They were underweight, so at birth vaccines was not a thing. So, like, they tried, but the pediatrician was like, no, even after I was like, I don't think we're supposed to do that. And the pediatrician was like, you absolutely are not. But, that'd be a normal way to do it. But they didn't actually, like, they got billed as, oh my God, they took away Hep B at birth. Everything is changing. Every kid's going to have Hep B. All these children are going to die. And you're like, no, not really. Because it's just, if you have a negative test, it's easier for you. Like, and if anything, they made it harder for people to not get the vaccine in general, because now they made it, well, if you don't want to get it, you have to have this document, which, if anything, created more of a mandate. Then, like, people conceptually don't understand. So these people got, like, really attacked for making these changes, and they've said so many stupid things they deserve to get attacked for. But the actual change that they made was pretty insignificant. It was pretty much, it's just like the shared clinical decision making, which they also use. It doesn't really change anything. It's absolutely, like, if you get into the mechanics of what is actually happening in the interaction, they barely moved, like, they like moved a book over a quarter inch and are like, okay, we changed something. It's such a small thing, and they got absolutely lambasted for it. And I feel like, you know, they want to take away all this stuff. They're going to get, like, the army of people who are spending money on mRNA propaganda coming after them, which I've gotten, like, the smallest taste of. It's not fun. And, like, they don't want that. It's just like we said, like, before with these guys. I was like, they're going to get into power and then realize that the corporations and all these other groups and the propaganda is way more powerful than they're ready for. Like, these people that they think are just like, oh, you're just doing whatever the corporations want. Okay, you try to tell the corporations no. You go. You good luck. Tell me how it goes for you. And it's not going great for them. It's absolutely not going great. And it shouldn't, because in this particular instance it shouldn't, but it also demonstrates a power structure that I think a lot of people, like, I mean, I don't think people understand what it means to be in a corporate oligarchy. You know, I don't think people really understand what that means. And, like, you're trying to fight around the corporations, and, like, it's so much more specific to, like, controlling outcomes than people realize. I don't know. Seems like it's a cross between, like, people realize them as, like, all the time for everything, and then they have these gaps where they think, like, oh, when fear gets involved, they're like, oh, well, it won't, because I guess you don't want to think about, like, in terms of the corporate oligarchy will protect some of your interests if they're shared interests with the with the group, right? Like, you don't want to think about it like that, because it's generally harmful, but there is situations like we're dealing with right now where they can only do so many bad things before things, unless it's about war. If it's for war, there is no end to the bad things they can do. I need to grab a glass of water. Hang on a second.
That's definitely true about the war. The whole idea of the military-industrial complex. It's a system that feeds off of itself, and it's self-propelling machine of more war, more money for districts, more money for jobs, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, it's very self-propelling wheel of death for sure. That's one of the things I think that, like, when you think about the military, it's like you can go up against a lot of things, but, like, even if you want to, like, change the military, those changes are going to be subtle and small, and you're just lucky if you can keep them from doing what they're doing right now, which is horrible and terrible and wasteful. I think the wastefulness of it is the thing that gets me the most, because, like, we do have, like, unlimited money to spend. Like, America could do all the war and have all the best stuff for us at home, no problem. There's no shortage. They just won't pass laws that provide for those people, because this is actually during the shutdown period of the pandemic, when they were doing the $600 a month pandemic unemployment assistance. A Republican senator or congressman got on the thing and said, you can't pay people more than what the military will, or people won't join the military. So the quality of life... What's that?
Bingo.
Yeah, so the quality of life has to be below what the military offers, like the standard quality of life, so that it gives young people a reason to join the military. So it's like, it's not like he said the quiet part out loud. It's not something that just happens. It is carefully constructed. So even if you want to improve the quality of life of Americans on a national level, you have to think about making your military people make more, which is kind of antithetical to trying to cut military costs. It's also similar to, like, to police. This is going to sound really unpopular at first, because let me explain the whole thing. You can't end the drug war without paying police more.
Okay, I know it. I think I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Because they make so much money in overtime, federal overtime, via the drug war. That's where they make their real money in order. So the federal government is essentially subsidizing the cost of police through the drug war.
Hmm.
So if you want to end the drug war and end that federal subsidy, then other money has to come in to pay those officers, or else they'll just turn into something else that is equally problematic. Though they might anyways. But it's again back to a cost of living thing, right? So like, it has to be greater than the cost of living so that there's no need for like corruption. But if you want corruption, then you need people to be beneath the cost of living. Like if you want crime, because crime drives a bunch of things, then you need to have that sort of like like the available resources has to be just beneath the cost of living. At the same time, if you want a bunch of people in debt, which is what America's all about, then you need to have that sort of that perfect thing where you don't make quite enough to live, so you're constantly accruing debt, and then that breeds all the control and the narrative and all the bad stuff that really happen with people, where you just like that's why we can't get like improvements in minimum wage on a national level, why we can't get direct assistance to the public, why food stamps are clamped down so hard, why it's so hard to get disability and Social Security. Well, Social Security less, but more often now. So it's just like all of these government resources that should help people and that should be used to make our country stronger are used against us because it's all about creating these debt cycles and getting people stuck in these routines. And then it also makes it easier to control workers. When you're living credit card to credit card, paycheck to paycheck, or your kid's on diabetes medication and you need that health care.
You're not going to go out and protest.
Yeah, well, it's very much like the what was the whole thing we were dealing with the visas, the H-1 visas, H-1B, whatever it was, or what was it? What was the one that Musk was using? The
for
the tech worker visa,
right? Foreign like tech workers, and what do they call it? I don't think they call it high skill, or what do they call it? It's a different class of...
Yeah, it's H-1B. I had it right. It's a 3-year renewable non-immigrant visa for specialized roles requiring a bachelor's degree, often requiring $100,000 a year salary. So, so it's H-1B visas. So it's like how those get manipulated, but that is very clear manipulation. Like it's very easy to see that like the person is brought from another country. You have to do whatever that job wants you to do, and if you can't do it, you have to leave the country because it's tied to the job. And so we actually have that stuff set up for people, citizens, in all these other more complex ways, whether it be college debt, credit card debt, and it's all built into why the cost of living has to be more than the amount that people get paid. And as long as that system is offset the wrong way, you're always going to have this I want to use it's a type of oppression, but it's like financial oppression. So it's a lot of people don't notice it because they're too wrapped up in it.
Precariousness, like they keep you in a state of like, you're just trying to get to the next paycheck, just pay your bill. You don't have time to ask for more or to ask for something better. I think the same thing sort of happened in Iran with our sanctions. Like they always want the people to rise up and change the government, and I think this has the same effect when you put sanctions on a country.
Yeah, this is the point of sanctions. The point of sanctions is to make life uncomfortable for the people in the country, so that they push for government regime changes.
Right, push for change. But the other side of that is kind of the same thing that happens everywhere else. It puts people in a position where they kind of feel like they can't do that. They're not comfortable enough to be able to stand up.
That's exactly right, because it's the flip side of that. It's like we're talking about it's basically like a different type of tariff. It's a different type of like limiting access to things. I mean, look what they're doing to God, what is her name? They put sanctions on Francesca, the
Albanese.
woman. Yeah. At the UN, she can't use like Visa cards. Her bank accounts are shut down. Like they have made her life extremely hard because she is sanctioned and just there are a ton of things that are American services that are inaccessible to her. So yeah, so like I guess a good way to put it is it's sort of like the thing we do to our own population to control them. Like everything we do to the other parts of the world, we do to ourselves as well. And I think that like the American population doesn't really understand that because, and I think the pandemic really showed us because they turned it off and then they turned it back on and then reset it up exactly the way it was with like more oppression. And that should have been a wake up call for a lot more people because it was very clear like the system doesn't have to be that way. It is intentionally made that way. And I just feel like that's something that people need to understand, especially when you're like dealing with COVID and all these other things. You're trying to bring awareness to things like you're going up against people that literally want everyone to think the opposite of what you're trying to explain to them. Like, look at how much pushback I get trying to explain Novavax has more protection than mRNA. Like, people are so resistant to like, no, they're the same. They're the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem is they are not the same. They're very different. I think a lot of people think that like, oh, they're all like the vaccines are no. Well, if you get one booster, they're all roughly the same. But that's all mRNA can do. If you get the 3-shot series of Novavax, it's 6 or 7 times what mRNA can do. It's completely better. It's like literally technically better in every way. And people are like, no, they're the same, Don. You can't talk badly about mRNA. I'm like, I'm not talking badly. It's just a technical fact that you can get a much better protection by doing it this way. It lasts longer. It affects more variants. It doesn't. Don, you gotta you're being anti-vax. Like, no, I want people to be protected. And this is how they're manipulating everybody. So, like, pulling all these tactics. Like, these guys saying nasal sprays don't work. Like, this is the clownish shit I've ever seen, by the way. Some people being like, nasal sprays don't work. Anything else? You know, is the world flat, too? Is that what we're saying? Like, it's just, there's no end. There's no end to people. And then everyone else who's trying to explain to you how someone else is putting you at risk, they're the problem because they're obviously lying to you to put you at risk. So everyone is going to be a problem. Anyone who disagrees with the risk they're putting you in is the problem. That's how it works in all cases. I don't know. I feel like also we're at a point now where, like, as your humanities are intact, you should be really grading and rating who you should be speaking to or, like, listening to for this stuff based on how they speak about other things. Like, if they're not talking about ICE and they're not talking about the genocide, they're not talking about the illegal wars, they're not talking about anything except their little narrow subject, they're manipulating you. Let's manipulate. They should be talking. They should be a normal person talking about things you occasionally disagree with. That's like should be normal. I think if you listen to our show and you agree with everything that I have to say, is there even a point to listening? Like, isn't the whole point of these types of things to like give you something different to think about, so that maybe you can change, like, shift perspective for the better, potentially, maybe for the worse against me when you know, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, we should be challenging ourselves to, like, change. If you want positive change, then it should start with you and trying to create positive change in yourself, which means you should take things that you disagree with and allow them to challenge you to at least a point. I mean, not like this shit these people say who are like, fuck, man. I just
Sort of reminds me of like in the Obama years when you would, criticize Obama and everyone would come out and freak out. Like, what's the matter with you? Are you a Republican?
Right. Well, that's because the Republicans are attacking him for everything. So it's just you sound like, which I mean, I get, but at the same time, I feel like there's way too much groupthink. Which politics is a team sport, but like good politics is about, making things better for people, not about trying to maintain the status quo. There's way too much status quoing, and I don't. There are. I mean, like right now, I'm really scared about Democrats getting back into power, and they're like putting up people who want to achieve the status quo, but the new status quo is completely broken, right? Like the new status quo is completely borked. We have to like rebuild a ton of stuff. So like the concern is you're going to have Democrats come in who just preserve the status quo that Trump has now created. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the whole thing is just the worst possible outcome, because then you're going to have Democrats unapprove things, and then Republicans will come back into power because they'll say they can fix whatever they broke and with the new leadership, and then we just repeat the cycle over again. That's really my...
Whatever these middle of the road neoliberal Democrats think is like normal, there is no going back to normal. Like whatever they think was the normal thing, there is no going back to that. We have to completely rethink things and rebuild things and do things differently. And they need to sell a vision to people about how to go about that and what to do.
Wow, what a novel. What a wild idea. Yeah.
I mean, things are really that bad. People used to always say it, things need to get bad enough before real change happens. Are we there yet?
Yes. Yeah, no, I think we are.
Yeah.
I think we are at the place where things are bad enough that people will push for real change. So that was kind of like when we were doing Bernie stuff. It was like, you know, you're going to elect Trump and everything's going to get worse. And you're just kind of like... And I had a very, like, fatalist, well, I guess we're electing Trump kind of attitude about it. And I think people saw that as, like, me supporting electing Trump. But at a certain point, you just have to be like... I guess this is happening. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want the bad thing to happen, but it's gonna happen, and so you kind of just gotta sort of like make it as least bad as possible. I feel like that's been the big topic today on a number of things. Sometimes you just gotta like, I don't want to be the person saying, "Oh God, we should have done this." No, we said the whole time we were advocating for the changes that everyone said. I mean, we were literally doing this call, being like, we need to have an open primary, have a quick primary season, use the convention as a mini primary. The former DNC chair followed me on Twitter the whole time. We were advocating for, like, guys, you gotta do it this way. You know, and they didn't. And then the thing happened, and you're kind of like, well, I guess they didn't do the thing we told them to do, and now we're going to do the bad thing. It's just...
Because they always think they can just skate through and go back to some sense of normal that they have kind of set in their heads, and things just keep getting worse and worse by ignoring reality.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's America in a nutshell. Even Republicans and Democrats are just like, they want to ignore what's happening, like as much as they can. So, like, I mean, look at how the COVID pandemic, you know, they fake ended it when they were like, oh, the vaccines worked, and you're like, okay, but it didn't. They literally didn't work. They literally did not work right. They did not give the 3-shot response we wanted to get. They did not. They're not protecting people the way you said they would. And their response is, you know what? We're just going to stop testing this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, but that doesn't like fix the problem. And they're like, what problem?
Look, everybody's back to work. Everything's fine.
So they just like they did a plan. The plan did not work, and then they just acted like the plan worked. It was super weird.
If you look around,
weird.
Nobody's wearing masks. Everybody seems to be okay. Quoting the old man.
Can we get a definition on okay? Can we get like, so you saw a person for
Right.
1 second? Can we go back to like, okay, but why do you think that they're all okay? What is making you think that, considering you have advanced dementia and cancer, which, I mean, a manifestation of cancer isn't unheard of, but, you know, it's still, like, you know, he has all these terrible things happen to him after he gets he got COVID, everything went wrong, he couldn't do the thing, he did not seem okay.
No, he quickly evaluated everyone at that auto show that he said that at, and
all of his staff was
checked their
wearing
organs.
masks behind him.
Right, yeah. Everyone was being tested at that time around him. He was just making a show of it. Yeah, I don't forgive him.
I don't forgive him either. I mean, not be like, well, would you like Trump? No, of course not. I hate them both. They're both dicks. like, like different levels. But I would say, like, here's the thing. Also, like in my opinion, and this is my humble opinion, whatever, is that Biden, like Trump, is still not like Biden did things with like more grace and class, but he did more damage to things. Trump is still trying to catch up to, and he will. He has time, but like the damage that Biden did with his mishandling of the pandemic and the damage that happened to everyone's brain and the change, and we could have just waited another year and gotten better vaccines out and done air filtration and not destroyed everyone's brains, because everything that Trump is happening right now is, in my opinion, a consequence of the mishandling of Biden with the neuroinvasive novel virus. So I feel like when you want to talk about it, I feel like he's still trying to catch up, and he's doing a really, really shit job at like anything worth doing. And Biden still, in my opinion, is like, those are rookie numbers, chump. Like, he has done so much more damage. It's not,
I like that. Those are rookie numbers.
Those are rookie numbers, chump. Yeah, it's. I feel like that was something Biden would actually say. Yeah, no, it's just and that might be like, oh, Don, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I remember when they were passing out those inflation charts, and inflation is like, specifically when before inflation exploded, they were planning a policy shift, and I was like, that's going to make inflation explode because we put that policy in place to stabilize inflation. So if you remove it without having something else to respond, it's going to make inflation explode. And then once inflation explodes and you don't like do something about it, then they're going to get greedy, and then inflation's really going to explode. And that is precisely what occurred. Trying to explain to them, hey guys, no, the PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, that is an inflation stabilizing program. That is not about giving money to the public. That is about distributing money into the economy via the public to stabilize inflation, so that companies are making enough money that they don't have to raise prices, even though the public has less money to spend. We're just going to do currency distribution through the people. And it was exceptionally effective. It actually reduced, if you go to the charts, it reduced inflation during the period that we used it, so that prices were actually stabilized. And there were things that you couldn't get because of shipping issues and shutdowns. There were price issues, but you couldn't get the items at all. It wasn't like they increased in price; they just weren't unavailable. Like, you couldn't buy a new refrigerator right now or something for like a couple months. But, like, it's not the same thing. So, like, watching it go up and then seeing it explode, and then people try to use charts, because Trump has had bad inflation. Like, Trump has had bad inflation. If you compare it to, like, leading up to the 2008 crisis or other crises we've had, it's very bad. But it's nothing compared to what Biden's inflation is like. I would say we had, like, probably, like, 25 years of inflation in 18 months. And, like, people look at these charts, they try to say, look how bad Trump's inflation is. I'm like, well, that is very bad, but obviously the number is worse when you look at the other one because of how our inflation stabilization program was mishandled. And I feel like it shouldn't be, like, taboo to say these things, because we need to not make these mistakes. And it also shows that distribution of currency through the public is successful. It's a good way, like, distributing money through the public is a good way to keep inflation down. Of course, after we did it, they tried to spin it like, oh, well, spending this money is why inflation is so. But that's not how anything works. They try to make it, because they would have, in order for that to be true, it would have had to devalue our currency. And the currency did not see devaluing during that period. So it can't be related to, like, money being spent. It would have to devalue the currency relative to other currency. And that still wouldn't create inflation, because inflation is a measurement of products inside of the country, not a measurement of products outside the country. And even if there was a bad exchange rate, again, would not lead to inflation. It doesn't work like that. But we're going to see some inflation now because of the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. That's going to be, because oil used to be the standard by which inflation, back when we had a non-completely corrupt system, crude oil was if it went up, everything got more expensive, and that's what we're going back to. Because we've had low oil prices for a long time. Like, I remember...
we rigged that.
Well, I mean...
We rigged the game. with the Saudis.
Yeah, it worked, I guess. I mean, I don't really know why it didn't
For
work.
us.
I mean, oil's bad. We shouldn't use it. I mean, it works in the sense of what we're trying to do, but it's just sort of like we definitely could do better. I mean, maybe, and then I feel like every time, though, we have one of these oil crises, which we are about to have an oil crisis, it always leads to an increase in green, like, energy stuff. It always leads to the public being like, okay, well, we got to have, new ways to do. Groundwater's gone. Let's build some desalination plants. It's a bad example, but same idea. So it's. I feel like at least, and that's why we need to really grab a hold of the public sentiment in this next phase and try to push it towards like building the country we want to be instead of building the country we saw ourselves as. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's what's also another part of this that's so backward is the climate crisis angle of it, is that this is still likely another oil war after we've gone through the last 25 years of that we did.
Feels like it's just
with
the
that
Epstein regime lashing out.
Yeah, but Lindsey Graham's running around saying we're going to make a ton of money
Oh God!
once we control that oil.
Well, he's got to pay off all the people who are constantly blackmailing him. That was a good background, bringing that joke back around. Apparently, he has a Mickey Mouse voice. That's the word on the grind. Is that he has a Mickey Mouse voice? Yeah, that's what they always say about him. Just like I could see that. I try not to see that, but I could see that. On that note, I think we're done. I think we're wrapped for the day. Ending the week very strongly, I think. We're here on Mondays and Thursdays. We appreciate everyone's coming to listen. We do have a Discord where sort of ideas are batted around. You still have 15 minutes to go leave a public comment with ACIP if they even have an illegitimate ACIP meeting. We'll see. Verpac, I feel like Verpac was successful today. I feel like Biff did a really great job getting them to talk about the subject he wanted to talk about. It was very important to him. I got them to talk about, because I was really hammering, like, our vaccines are not good enough, and it's okay to say they're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying they're not good enough, which I feel like is a huge, I'd much rather go into the realm of we should improve vaccines rather than we should remove vaccines. Like, if we have to change vaccines, right, you can either remove them or improve them, and I definitely would prefer to improve them over removing them. So on that note, we're going to keep up the fight. You can stay engaged however you stay engaged. Join us. I guess we'll be back next week. And Terry will be here. She's always a good time. And we'll see what horrible thing happens over the weekend that we get to talk about, because it seems to be a running theme this year.
Yeah. Hang in there, everybody.
We spent 2 hours of pre-call. It was 2.5 hours a day just to try not to sound totally depressed in the live call. It's just us running through every terrible thing that's happening and trying to find some sort of like shred of how do we spin that as something that's not awful, and it doesn't always work. It doesn't always happen. We're trying though. All right. Jess, thank you for being here. Biff, thank you as usual, and the great comment today. Donna and Heather are just hiding out. Donna's waiting for me to say something wrong. It'll happen. It's bound to happen. And that's it. So everyone have a great night, and we will see you on the next call. Give us a share or a retweet or a comment or start an argument in our chat. We'll